Welcome to the Hottest Skeena podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be right back.
It is high, it is far, it is gone.
Ahí va, por el left field, olvídala, esa bola cae en la calle. Esa se va, se fue.
So Enrique, how are you? We got some great news today. Carlos Rodón signs with the Yankees for 6 years, $162. I absolutely love the deal. I think it's perfect for Rodón, and I think for the Yankees as well. How you feeling with the move?
Brother, I'm ecstatic. I feel like this was a move that needed to be made. I know we spoke off air with our colleague Alex, who called it a luxury more than a necessity. I don't fully agree. As we've seen in history, you can't get too far in the postseason when you have to rely on one guy. Most successful World Series caliber teams in the past have always had two aces, or a true ace and a solid number two right behind them. We've lacked that for a while now. We've had to depend solely on Gerrit Cole for a long time. You know, we've had to depend on him to be our horse. Aaron Judge's own words. He said, this guy's a horse. We need to get him some help because it's not fair that he has to do it all on his own. Well, that help came today in the form of Carlos Rodón. I couldn't be happier. I feel like Gerrit got his right-hand man as far as the two top aces of the rotation. And, this reminds me of when Houston had Verlander and Cole. You know what I'm saying? You knew that when you were going up against Houston, if you were facing the top of the rotation, you had to steal at least one game. Because if you lost both first games of the series to Cole and Verlander, you were out of luck. You know what I'm saying? And that's the situation that now I feel with this move, we've put the rest of the AL in. Now in a 5-game set, say we're going against whatever team comes out of the wild card, they have to win 3 games when literally the first 2 games are against Gerrit Cole and Carlos Rodón. Pretty tall task, Sean, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's even beyond that. I think our rotation is top 3 in baseball. Gerrit Cole obviously still at the top. You got Carlos Rodón now at number 2. You can make the case either whether it's going to be Nestor or Severino at 3 to kind of balance out that righty-lefty. So you could have Severino at 3. You can now have 2022 All-Star Nestor Cortez, your favorite player in history, that like to mess with you a little bit. If you have Nestor at number 4, I don't think you could have asked for better. And then to have Frankie Montas, your big trade acquisition, last trade deadline, sitting at 5 with no pressure, that's a hell of a rotation, and that's something the Yankees needed to absolutely have. Yeah, it's a little bit of a luxury, but I think there's still a lot of moves to be made. I definitely don't think this is the end. I don't think this is anywhere near the end. I think this is just something that, when you look at the teams that you're competing against to get to the World Series, you have to compare yourself to the ones that the juggernaut of the world. Yes, it is Houston. And Houston, even though they lost Verlander to the Mets, the Astros still have 6 starters who are top guys, who are still going to be a great team, a really tough out. And if you bring out this rotation to go against Houston, if you bring the bats, as of right now on paper, this rotation is good enough to battle against Houston.
And listen, first of all, man, you want to bring up Nestor, bro. I forgot to mention this. I mentioned it on Twitter, bro. How cool is it for me and any other Yankee fan that's either Cuban born or of Cuban descent because their parents are Cuban? Now you got 2 Cubanos in the starting rotation, baby. I love it. That's awesome, man. I'm waving my Cuban flag proud tonight. You know what I'm saying? With Nestor and Rodón representing. You know what I'm saying? You always see these teams that they have 2 studs at the top. Yankees did their thing when they got Gerrit Cole by getting a solidified ace. Okay, that was great. But he was your only true ace. You had hopes that Severino would round into form, and he would be your solid number two, right behind Cole, and you'd have that 1-2 punch with him and Severino. But that's never come to fruition, whether it's been because of injuries or just him not living up to that hype. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? I still believe in him. I still think he can be a solid pitcher for us. Maybe not an ace type like he was when he first came to the league, but I feel like he can be a solid piece. And listen, in this rotation, bro, slot him in wherever. And don't forget, Michael Kay said himself that the Yankees are working on something big. That's what he's heard. That he said, and I quote, they're still in on Rodón, but on top of that, they're working on something big. I spoke to a buddy of mine earlier today that he was getting impatient with that big move not coming. And I told him, and I'm going to say it now, exactly what I told him at that moment. I told him, make no mistake, and don't throw it out that big move is just in the holster being ready to be fired, but they're waiting on the Rodón move first. That they want to get that done first before they, quote unquote, pull off their big trade or big signing. Like, they wanted to get Rodón taken care of first. Well, now that that's done with, I feel like that big move could come at any moment, Sean. How about you, man? I think it's I think we could wake up within the next few days and see something, or maybe within the next week. Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely think the Yankees are going to try. Honestly, I think right now the focus is going to go right towards the left side of the field, around third base and left field. Third base seems to be a big question mark right now, like we talked about earlier. Something that we're going to have to wait and see to see what's going on there. But left field gets a little bit darker for us now that Andrew Benintendi just signed with the Chicago White Sox for 5 years, $75 million. It's something I'm not surprised about. I'm not surprised. I never really thought the Yankees were serious on Benintendi. I did hear that the Yankees offered 4 years, 64. And so Benintendi did want the 5 years. I knew the Yankees were never going to go 5 years. And so Benny gets technically the biggest deal in White Sox history at 5 years, $75 million, which is something ridiculous. But, good for him. He got the years that he wanted. He's going to be a White Sox now. He always said he liked playing for small markets. He liked playing in the Central. It makes sense that he would stay and be, a big piece over in Chicago and not come back to New York. I just felt like, the Yankees never were 100% in on Benintendi. And I guess that, reads the question, what's next for the Yankees in left field? Is it in-house? Is it, in free agency? Is it the trade market? Before I get into, my thoughts, Enrique, let me bring this to you. Benintendi's no longer a Yankee. We got two former left fielders that played for the Yankees last season who signed today, with Gallo going to the Twins as well for $11 million. And that begs the question for someone like Kepler, now on the block. What do you see the Yankees looking at, going into our starting left fielder for 2023?
Well, first of all, let me congratulate both of these guys for getting the deals they wanted. Like you said, Benintendi got the 5th year. Good for him for getting that. I wish him nothing but luck in the south side of Chicago. I liked him while he was a Yankee, so, no hard feelings, Benny. Enjoy your stay in the south side. Same thing for Joey Gallo, for Pal Joey, as John Sterling called him. I want to wish him nothing but the best also in Minnesota. Seems like a lot of ex-Yankees go there, huh, Sean? Like, that's where they seem to go after they play for us. Look, man, I've said it in the past and I'll continue to say it. I don't think left field is necessarily a must-addressed situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a position of need, yeah, but it's not a must-have. It's not like third base, in my opinion, where it's a lot more of a black hole, like we talked about previously, with Donaldson there being an automatic out. I feel like you don't have that automatic out if you were to start, let's just say, Oswaldo Cabrera in left field, like we saw. You know what I'm saying? Would it be the ideal choice? No. But at least you don't have an automatic out like Josh Donaldson. It remains to be seen what they'll do. I mean, look, man, if I'm Hal Steinbrenner and I'm Brian Cashman, I don't rush this because, like I said, I don't feel it's an urgent position of need. Um, I would look at the free agent market and, test the waters with Michael Conforto, test the waters with Michael Brantley, see what each one is looking for. If you want to go deep into the trade market and, basically flex those muscles with prospects, now that you flex your muscles with cash and you want to offer the farm for a Brian Reynolds, go ahead. That seems to be the move you would love to see, Sean. um, Me personally, especially because you have Harrison Bader in center, locking that up. You have Aaron Judge locking up right field for years to come. Remains to be seen if Harrison Bader's going to remain a Yankee after this year. But for the purposes of 2023, that's your center fielder and right fielder, right? And you have Oswaldo Cabrera, who could play left field in a pinch. I say you go for a guy like Michael Brantley. Worst comes to worst, even if he can't handle left field every day, which he probably can at this stage of his career, you spell him with Oswaldo Cabrera when he needs a day off or you want to DH him. Not that big a deal. Not to mention, he won't need to play every day because most likely you'll have to play Giancarlo Stanton in left field sometimes too. You can't just DH him every single game. We've seen what that does to him. Instead of it resting him and keeping him from getting injured, it does the opposite. So you definitely need to keep him fresh by putting him out on the field. So I think getting a guy like Brantley and having, a rotation of him, Stanton, and Oswaldo would be great. But like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to either making the trade for Brian Reynolds, or if you wanted to trade for a Max Kepler, which will probably cost you much less as far as prospects are concerned, I wouldn't be opposed to it either. Whatever helps the team get better and improve and get closer to championship 28, I'm all for it, man. I don't know if I'm all for spending the bank for a Brian Reynolds.
Bro, I disagree with you.
Maintain my stance on that, and I will continue to maintain my stance on that. Do I think he's good? Yeah. Do I think he's Juan Soto good, where I would have been fine trading an Anthony Volpe and whatever it took to get Juan Soto? Nah, I don't put him in that same category, even though I know you do.
No, I don't. Okay, see, I don't put him in the same category as a Juan Soto. I think with 3 years of team control, I think he could be one of the best outfielders in baseball. He's a top 2, top 3 center fielder right now. I think he is great. I would love to have him. I would not want to trade Volpe at all, though. I'm fine with trading Peraza for him, though. Peraza or Sweeney, along with Will Warren, with Domingo Germán, Gleyber Torres, people of that nature. Lucas Licky, throw in there. Estevan Florial, you could throw in there. There's plenty to work with for someone like Brian.
How about if they asked for Jason Dominguez?
Jason Dominguez is tough. But you have to ask yourself, if you're a Yankee fan, and part of the Yankee organization, really, is Jason Dominguez your future, or is Brian Reynolds / Harrison Bader your future in center field? And if they are set on Jason Dominguez being the center fielder for the next 15 years, when he's ready, then you don't trade Reynolds or Bader is short term. because Jason Dominguez is set to be a center fielder. And I know there's rumors out there that he's more of a corner guy, that his arm's better made for the corner. But, until that happens, you can't be waiting on the future if you're trying to win a World Series now. And, the Yankees are clearly trying to get better than they were last year. And last year they were trying to win the World Series. And I think this year they're definitely trying to win the World Series. But I think their first goal is to be better than Houston. And I think when you let Benintendi go, you now have to get someone that's better than Benintendi. Because it seems like everything else is set. I do not think Donaldson will get traded. I think that's too much of a black hole for any team to take on. I think he is a great defensive third baseman. He proved last year that he can be. Maybe I think the bat can improve. It can't get much worse than it was last year. But he had a serious decline. But I would hope that he can be a decent 8 hitter, because that's probably where he's going to be. If the Yankees go out and get someone like Reynolds. But I think third base is kind of set in stone. I don't think there's any possibility of really moving him and getting a better third baseman for it. I just don't think it's going to happen. But regarding left field, you got to go out and get someone like Reynolds, because if you let Benintendi go for, given almost a very, very minimal effort, I will say it felt like the Yankees were never really going all in on getting Benintendi. Yes, it was kind of hush hush. No one was saying anything. But, if you really wanted Benintendi back, you give him the extra year, because he signs for $575 with Chicago and the Yankees offer $464. He wanted 5 years so bad that he took the 5th year for an extra $11 million, and he's worth way more. So if the Yankees really wanted him, they would have just given him the extra year for $11 million. That's nothing. In 5 years from now, that's going to be pocket change for a Bubba Crosby of the world. That's going to be worth nothing. So
Yes.
it just shows that Benintendi was never really on the radar, and the fact that people have been talking, Michael Kay has been talking, Buster Olney has been saying that Rodón was not the big move, that there's something in the works, there's something big going on that we don't know about, that we just have to be patient. That's what makes me think that Reynolds is part of this plan. And I think right now there's a bunch of rumors that try to push it away, because I know the Pirates are asking for Volpe and Peraza and Dominguez, and they're asking for Juan Soto packages that they'll never get. But I think that's fair. I think that they should. But I think at the end of the day, the Yankees will offer and have the best to offer. And he highlights the Pittsburgh Pirates. He is their number one guy. So I understand trying to trade him is a PR nightmare. And the Pirates are weary because they lose trade after trade almost every time. I think the Chris Archer trade really set in stone, how bad they are winning trades. And, I don't think they want to ever go through that again. But at the same time, I think the Yankees can and have the best shot at getting Reynolds, because the fact that Reynolds asked for a trade just shows that he wants to be part of a winning culture. And the Yankees are easily the most aggressive team that wants him, and the Yankees have more than enough to give what the Pirates are asking for.
Do you think there's any, big market team that has a better farm system than we do that maybe could jump in and, blow Pittsburgh out of the water, like a team that actually can re-sign Reynolds and does have that winning culture that we're both talking about?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of teams that can go in and take Reynolds. You have 3 more years of Reynolds at his best.
Any team could jump in, especially a team with deep pockets like the Yankees, like an LA, like a New York Mets. I could see San Diego. They seem to be, full throttle, making moves left and right this offseason. I could see them trying to swoop in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, any team could do it. Because and even the small market teams could jump in, because it's, a lot of small market teams do it. Like look at Juan Soto, right? Juan Soto gets traded to the Padres. The Padres have zero clue if he's going to be there when his contract's up. Look, Manny Machado's about to probably opt out of his deal. You do it to win in the moment. And so if a team, there are probably 27 other teams are probably hoping that Reynolds is available in July. and doesn't get traded in the offseason, because then that opens the door for any team that's trying to win now, in a small market team, or they're have a window, then they'll go out and get someone like Reynolds. Like
Yeah.
that's what you wait for. It's hard. Small market teams don't go for big fish during the off season. They wait until their window is clear, they're winning, and they want to win this year or the year after, and they go out and get those guys. So
Yeah.
that's I think 25 to 27 teams are probably waiting for Reynolds to be available, like for real, in July, but the Yankees can't do that now. And that's what brings this conversation full circle. I think the Yankees have to go out and get someone of that caliber, because I know Yankee fans are talking about getting Kepler and people are talking about Max Kepler. Bro, why would you want Kepler if the Twins are trying to trade Kepler because they just signed Gallo? Do we now remember Gallo? If they're deciding to sign Gallo and get rid of Kepler, why would the Yankees want Kepler?
Blows my
It
mind,
makes
bro.
0 sense.
Blows my
Gallo
mind.
hit 160 with the Dodgers and 152 or 150 with the Yankees, whatever it was. Why? And the Twins still wanted him over Kepler. Why would the Yankees want to go and trade for Kepler? I get Kepler had his moment in 2017, 2018, 2019. He had a great 3-year span. I'm not saying he's a bad player, because he's not. He's still a decent left fielder, but he's definitely not better than Benintendi by a long shot. And if the Yankees are talking about and what they promised Judge, that we're going to be a better team when we come in 2023, why
Yeah,
in the world
Kepler.
would they settle on Kepler? Kepler is the very last option if the Yankees strike out on everyone and they have to get a deal in mid-March. That's the only way I see Kepler being a Yankee.
Isn't he always injury prone too? Isn't the guy always like hurt?
Not necessarily. He does miss an average of 40 games a year, which is, I guess, kind of injury prone, but he averages around I would say 120 games a year, I would say, especially over the last 3 years. But he has had his window. I think he's turning 30. I get it. He is a lefty bat, but let's not forget he had 9 home runs last year, 19 the year before. And I know in 2019 he had the 36 home runs and the 90 RBIs with the juice ball. I get it. He had his window, but he hit 227 last year. 318 on base with 9 home runs. What are you really expecting different at Yankee Stadium? Maybe 15 home runs because right field is different. I get it. But what, like a 230 hitter because the shift is gone?
I
Like,
mean, I feel
that's
like the
not
only
your left fielder.
appeal I feel like the only appeal he has is that he would cost you less as far as prospect value than a Brian
Yeah.
Reynolds would. Like he's not gonna cost you what a Brian Reynolds will.
No.
But I mean, I'm with you that at the end of the day, for me, he's the last option that you go after. Like I would take an aging Michael Brantley over him, to be honest with you. Because Brantley's shown that he can do it and he can be a top of the lineup guy and a
Brantley,
solid
I'm on the
contact
fence
guy. And he
about.
works great at bats, bro.
Yeah, I think Brantley still has a great bat, but his time is gone. I think, Brantley and the Yankees are 5 years too late. Brantley still has a decent bat, but the injuries have caught up to him the last 3 seasons, and he can't play the outfield anymore at all. Like he had such trouble last year, and that's what caused the injury. He's
Well,
just
that's why
way
I
too
said
slow off the
earlier that he
ball.
would split time between Stanton and Oswaldo. You would have
Yeah,
a
but
3-man
okay.
rotation between them.
Yeah, but that's what bothers me, is that if you're talking about the Yankees being better than they were last year, because that's what the Yankees are promising, having a Brantley and Oswaldo, who his worst position is in left, split time there and left, that's not better than Benintendi. I'd rather just
And
have
Stanton, don't forget, it would be a 3-man rotation.
uh,
But yeah, I got you.
yeah, but I see Stan is not going to be part of that rotation. Stan's going to be thrown in to be right field every now and then. And I think, to move Judge to center, give Bader his time, because you can't have Bader all the time, especially with the injury he just came back from. I don't see Stanton really playing anything more than 30 games in left field. I just don't see it. I think they're set on him being a DH, but they're going to have to get him in the outfield to get a couple, games in there, work the legs a little bit. But I see him mainly as a DH guy. I don't think he's part of the rotation at all unless there's injuries, like serious ones. But yeah, I just don't see him really playing the outfield, and you can't have any, Oswaldo you need to have as your utility guy. Like you did have DJ like 2 years ago, where he wasn't the starter, but he was coming in to play every position. He was playing every six, out of 7 games, like they said, and he was playing everywhere. I think that's what Oswaldo's purpose is in a major league roster. I think he could be a spark for any team and, stay in the lineup. And, eventually he could even take over Donaldson's spot if Donaldson's trash. Like that's what could be his role. He could be a great third baseman and take over when, Donaldson can't hit and he's 0 for 28 and, with 15 strikeouts. That's where Oswaldo can take his spot. I don't want to see Oswaldo starting in left field starting 2023 because that is a failed offseason in that point. You are trying to be better than Houston. And yes, you filled the rotation. You signed Rizzo, you signed Judge back. You brought back the same team and added a star pitcher. That's great. You'll win more games that way, but you're not beating Houston that way.
Oswaldo playing left field every day isn't necessarily what I want. It's not plan A for me or what I would prefer. But if that is what they go into the season with, I'm not losing sleep over it because, like I said, he's not a hole in the lineup like Donaldson is. Like, I feel like the more pressing issue is third base. You know what I'm saying? I feel like you gotta fix that more than you need to fix left field, and that's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro,
I disagree with you.
bro, like defensively, like I said, defensively, we're there. Like, we agree. Like, defensively, I want that dude at playing third base. And defensively, Oswaldo's maybe his worst position defensively is left field. But like I said, offensively, because we talked about this off air, Sean, in our text chat with me, you, and Alex. We talked about it. What always costs the Yankees in the playoffs? It's not their defense. It's not their pitching. It's their lack of hitting.
Yep.
They can't hit when it counts, bro. They can't. They always seem to struggle when the postseason comes, especially when they face, pitchers that just straight up outmatch them. You cannot afford, especially with this team's history of struggling offensively in October, you cannot afford to have a hole at third base offensively, bro. That's why, to me, third base is the more pressing issue because I cannot stand, I will not stand for another season of Josh Donaldson looking lost at the plate, bro. You cannot go through that again. You can't, bro. Like, look, I'd be perfectly fine with what you said. If you put Oswaldo there and he plays an adequate third base, great, because at least he gives you something offensively, bro. He showed you he gives you something offensively better than Donaldson.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the offense. We said it in our group chat. We fixed the pitching. Great. Now let's fix the bats. That's literally what we said between the three of us.
Yep.
You're not fixing the bats if you're still going into the season status quo at third base. I'm sorry, you're not.
Well, that's why I think left field is more of a pressing issue than third base because let's just say worst case scenario, they get a Kepler. I'm not saying Kepler. Maybe they get a Conforto, someone to take left. I think at least you have someone in left now because that's why left field is more of a pressing issue. You have no one there that you feel confident in playing left field defensively that, can get the job done. I think Oswaldo's a great bat. I don't know if it's something I'm going to be happy seeing in the playoffs starting every day. Oswaldo hasn't sold on me. I think he was a great fan favorite, but hasn't sold on me. But
I'm not saying he's the best option, but I'm saying, what would you rather have, him or Donaldson? The choice is clear.
Debatable because defensively, I'd rather have Donaldson.
No, I'm saying offensively. Who would you rather have? You're saying that he hasn't impressed you, that his bat, you said just now that his bat
Yes.
isn't something you want to see in the playoffs every day.
Well,
You're telling me
I
you
was
wouldn't
saying
rather have
Oswaldo.
his bat over Donaldson's?
Yeah, it's tough. Both of them are someone I don't necessarily want in the starting roster, but like I think that's why left field's more. You have to solve left field, and you have to get someone big because then you could figure out the infield. You can push Donaldson to the bench because then you can get.
Bro, God
Volpe is
only
the
hope.
shortstop. Volpe's going to be the shortstop by June, July, and probably by October. He'll be the starting shortstop for the Yankees. Then if you still have Praz on the team, you can move him to second, and then you can move DJ to third, and then you have your third base problem solved, or whatever the situation is, or maybe Oswaldo comes and play third. You don't know who's going to be on the team by then, but like third base is coverable, and we still technically have Gleyber Torres on the roster. So as of right now, Donaldson's probably not even on the starting roster. He's probably a bench
God
guy.
only hope, bro. God can only hope. Like I said, listen. If Josh Donaldson was not his former All-Star self last year, but if he was at least competent, at least gave you, bro, I don't know, a 220 batting average, let's just say, something along those lines, anywhere between 220 and 250. I wouldn't be having this conversation with you right now, Sean. I would be completely on board with everything you're saying about left field, about that being the pressing issue, because I'd be like, okay, bro, you got a great third baseman defensively. He locks down that position on defense, and he gives you an average bat. Doesn't need to be an all-star bat like what he used to be, but at least he gives you average offense, and that's all you need. But like I said, bro, it's when you're so bad that being average would be a huge upgrade for you, that's saying something. You know what I'm saying? Like the dude wishes he was average. Like it was a black hole, bro. Like I told you last episode, it gave me memories of when Chris Carter played first base for us. You know what I'm saying? Same thing. It was an automatic out every time. Automatic out every time. And at times it looked like he was swinging with his eyes closed. That's what some of Josh Donaldson's swings looked like. Do you remember how awkward some of his swings and misses looked?
Yeah.
You saw that viral tweet that was put out there on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, like you can't have that. Now, if he's pushed to the bench, then this is a moot point, bro. Prayers be answered. Hallelujah. Let's freaking jump for joy if that's the case. That'd be great. And I feel bad saying it because the dude used to be a baller at one point of his career, but he's not anymore. And I don't want him in that lineup. I'm sorry, I don't. And that's why I say that to me, third base is more of a pressing issue because of the offense, not the defense, the offense.
Well, this team is built on defense now. Cashman has made that very prevalent that's the point, is to focus on the defense. Yes, Donaldson hitting 222 last year, hitting half of what he did the year before is...
He hit 222?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. I didn't have the stats pulled up in front of me, but I'm shocked he even hit that.
Yeah, it terrible year. His slugging was way down. His on base was barely over 300. It was an awful year. He barely got walked. He never was on base. It was an awful year. But his defense was there, which is what kept him at third base all season long. If he didn't play good defensively, he would have been, benched a long time ago. And, so I don't even see Donaldson as a starter right now, unless, there's a big trade and then you have to put Donaldson back at third, because I don't mind Donaldson's bat if he's hitting 8th or 9th in the lineup. If you got someone like Brian Reynolds and you have the pieces where you could put you need someone hot at third base where you could have a defensive guy and you could sacrifice one out of the 9 bats to be a good defensive guy at third. But you definitely need someone good at third base. You cannot have even an above average. You need a solid third base, hot corner guy, and that's what Donaldson was last year. It was the exact opposite of what we asked for. Donaldson
that I agree with.
And sucked defensively.
I gotta disagree with you though about being you're okay with sacrificing an out. You can't, bro. In the regular season, sure, that analogy applies, but in the playoffs, what if it's a late game situation, Sean? It's the ninth, and you got the bottom of the order up. You know what I'm
Well, at
saying?
that point,
You
I,
could
I
pinch
was I
hit
was
for
saying
him at
regular
that
season
point.
in
I
general.
get it,
I wasn't
but
talking postseason. I was thinking regular season. Like, I don't mind Donaldson playing third base during the
well,
regular
that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking postseason. All my whole
postseason.
thought
It's a
process
whole
goes
different
for the
story.
postseason.
But yeah, third base is tough because, like I said, there's still so much to be done in this offseason. We have no idea where anyone is going to be. We have no idea if Praz is going to be Yankee. We have no idea if Glaber is going to be Yankee. If they are still Yankees, then DJ's your third baseman. Like, that's how it's going to be. And, that the Yankees have to go out and get that left fielder or whatever the case may be. You got to put Cabrera in there and figure out left field or third base. It is so much still going on. But, like, it's tough. I think left field has to be answered now, and then you have to figure out how to get Donaldson either off the team or on the bench and get the Hicks way off the roster. I don't even want to see him on a baseball roster, but somehow get him off team. Like, that's the big, big picture right now is getting that left fielder. Once you have that left fielder, then you could start to put the pieces together on who you want on the team and what you don't. Until you have your mold, Donaldson's your guy, and then that's why left field you have to get someone better than Benintendi. If you don't get someone better than Benintendi to take left field, it's a failure. You
I
failed
agree.
getting the bats that you needed to beat Houston. You have two walls to climb over, and we have yet to climb over Houston's wall. They knock us down every single year. So until you beat Houston, you have to have the bats to beat them.
Of course, and that's why I said that my point was focused on the postseason and not the regular season. I could give a bleep about the regular season, bro. The regular season doesn't mean anything to me because I know this team is good enough. God willing, I knock on wood. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to jinx them, but they're good enough to be in the postseason because they are in the postseason. They're a postseason team year in and year out. They just don't get over the hump, like you said. And that's why I made that point on Donaldson with the postseason in mind, not the regular season, because I'm thinking what will happen in a series like, NALCS against Houston or another tough ALDS against a scrappy team like Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? You can't have a hole at third base, bro. And
Yep.
that's the only reason I said third base is the more pressing issue. But I agree with you, like I said, about left field, and that definitely needs to get addressed. Like I said, offensively speaking, third base is the more pressing issue.
I think it's just the
Overall,
whole left
it's
side of the
left
field.
field.
It's
Yeah.
just the whole left side.
Mhm.
Shortstop's still a question until
Yeah,
June,
I
July
mean,
when Volpe
it,
takes over.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It is, but at the same time, it's not because you have your shortstop of the future waiting. Supposedly, according to the Yankees, that's what
Exactly.
they've been force feeding us for all these years.
Hence why I just said it, because it's all it's hearsay. Who knows? I pray he's the answer. He is this golden child, this golden goose egg that we haven't even unraveled yet. But so when you have that as your question mark at shortstop, you have a washed up third baseman who used to be great, not even he's less than a shell of himself at third, and you have nobody to get a ground ball at left field.
Mm-hmm.
You're not better than Houston, and you have all that to figure out. The move's got to be made right now, right away. So I think the Yankees have to go out and get a top left fielder better than Benintendi, and then you could start focusing on what you want to do with third base and get Hicks way off the roster and figure out what moon you want to send him to, but figure it out.
There you go. There you go. I couldn't agree more, man. Get that left side of the field shored up, and let's get going. Let's get this series underway, baby.
That's right. But that's gonna wrap it up for this latest episode of the Hot Esquina podcast. We will be back again sometime next week. Hopefully, the Yankees make the moves that they need to, and bring a future Hall of Fame bat to left field. That's all I'm gonna say, and bring us closer to ring number 28 because we desperately need one. It's been too long, but from me, Enrique, and Alex, somewhere out there in the Miami Beach land. We'll see you guys next time. Go Yanks.
Go Yanks, baby.
Go Yankees.